Horse and Friends Radio with Conrad and Raphael.
Hey, I'm Conrad Nodden.
And I'm Raphael Valle. And from Nashville, Tennessee, you're listening to
The Horse and Friends Radio Show. Of the horse, for the horse, and by the horse lovers everywhere. Hey, Raphael, we're into show number 3 already. Can you believe it?
Nope, time flies when you're having fun.
Boy, and are we having fun. A lot of people are showing a great amount of interest in the Horse and Friends radio show. We're getting a lot of feedback. People are loving it, and rightly so. We've got some great guests that are having some great material. In fact, who is the guest for this show number 3?
It's going to be Joe Camp. Most of you may know him for being the creator and director of the movies Benji, which is an American icon in itself. And now he's gotten into horses. And when people email me and ask about training tips, I always refer to this book, The Soul of the Horse, because my philosophy is in order, before you start asking the horse to do things, you have to understand it and develop that relationship with it. And this book, in Joe's book, The Soul of the Horse, does an excellent job of laying it out, the understanding of the horse and knowing what makes a horse a horse. And I wish I had it when I started with Ivory Pal 10 years ago, but now it's out there and it's a great reference material for any horse lover and horse owner.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking to him about that and some other things. Speaking of people calling in and having questions, we have decided to set up an email specifically for the show where people can comment or they can ask questions. And we're going to even try to share some of the email on the show, on the next show that we have when people call in or email in, rather. And the address is www.nashvillenewzine.com. That's Nashville, the city, New Zine, like new magazine, NashvilleNewzine.com. And that's the homepage, and that's our website. And you'll see the Horse and Friends radio show logo. Click on that. That'll take you to our page that has all the previous shows and everything else. And there's a button there that says Comments and Questions. Click on that. And if you have a question or a comment, you just want to talk about things to us, we may read them on the next show. So submit it, and we'll read them, and we'll do what we can to answer as many as we can. I think it'll be kind of fun to see how some of the folks feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that have personally emailed Conrad and I, we really thank you for the feedback and support. So it's because of your emails that has triggered this idea to try to get you involved into the show and to be able to get your input into the show and also be able to answer some questions that you may have.
Yeah. Now, something happened last Saturday night that is of interest. We have told some of the friends, actually all the friends on our radio show, that we're doing a special DVD for Ivory Pal. It is his own theme song done to a music video. And what aspect of that DVD did we do last Saturday night at Magnolia Valley in the outdoor arena? What was that all about?
Well, under the full moon, it was a perfect setting. We did it with the pitch black arena. The only thing you could see was a spotlight, some smoke, and some special effects that you'll be able to see once the DVD comes out. We also were honored that one of Ivory Pal's very special fans actually flew down from Massachusetts, Carol Savage, and she was actually involved in helping with the music and the
we put her to work, didn't we?
She was a great sport. So.
Actually, the reason we had her come down is she's also a medical doctor, and I was on top of the horse trailer, which was up there quite a ways, and I figured if I fell off, we'd have a nurse right there, not a nurse, but a doctor right there to help out. So, no, we put her to work running the music. She hadn't heard the theme song. That was kind of a special perk for her. She really enjoyed it. She heard Ivory Pal's theme song. And then you did a choreographed performance to it, and that's going to be part of the DVD. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Right. No, it was a lot of fun, and it was fun seeing Carol's face through the smoke and everything. You could just see her smiling when she heard the first couple of beats and lyrics of the song. So I'll never forget that moment. You could just see her face.
Yeah, I think she was actually kind of dancing to it there for a while. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, she sure was. was.
She's a musician too, you know. She plays French horn, and she told me she was thinking about bringing her French horn down on the plane. But have you ever seen a French horn case? It's so weird looking. They'd probably think she had a bomb in it or something. So her husband said, no, leave it at home.
Yeah, it'll be hard to get through security these days. Yeah.
So, so we got a lot of stuff going here. Last show, we were talking about leadership. A question came up regarding leadership on getting him to perform. Now, he performs with you shoeless and bitless. That might have been a little challenge, wasn't it, to get him to do certain things without a bit in his mouth? How did you do that?
Yeah, you know, when we bought Ivory Pal, the most severe bit I ever had in his mouth was a simple snaffle. It was funny how people would hand me, say, he's a Tennessee Walker, you have to have a Tennessee Walking horse bit, which tend to have longer shanks. I'm like, hold on, was he born with this bit or what? And no, you know, it's one of these myths. So we rode with a mile snaffle bit, and people would say you have to graduate him to a higher level bit. It's like, graduate? What do you mean? Yeah, it's basically a harsher bit, and it's like, graduate, that's kind of regressing, huh? Because the less pressure, the better. With horses, is less is better. So I never understood that philosophy. So we were very successful with the snaffle bit. As a matter of fact, his show career was done with the snaffle bit, which was was considered mild even at that time.
Now, speaking of show career, I think some of the folks here might like to know a few of the high-profile shows that he won some awards and so forth. Maybe just mention that.
Yeah, sure. We had a 2-year show career with Ivory Pal, and you know, how we got into showing, it's a whole different story we'll have to cover another time. But yeah, we showed for 2 years and had a much success in being the 2-time Foch Horse of the Year, 2004, 2005. Also the 2004-2005 Southeastern Regional Championship. And we ended his Ivory Pal show career when he won the Grand Champion High Point Versatility at the North American Gaited Horse Show in St. Louis in 2005. So we were very blessed. And again, it was a testament to Ivory Pal's, you know, just great mind, work ethic, and athleticism. I just owe it to him. And you know, regarding the, you know, how we went to bitless is, as I got better and started learning more how to be a better rider, I started riding much more or less with my hands and more with my feet and body. And that's what made a huge difference. That's where the lessons from classical dressage came and helped me. It's to be a more balanced rider, and therefore he could be better. And you realize that, you know, the bit is just a way to communicate. It's a matter of pressure and release. Pressure to ask him to do something, release to give the proper response. So I'm like, you know what?
Not something to yank on, right?
No, it's not brakes. Believe me. People say, what, kick a horse to go and pull on the reins to stop. It's not that easy. Well, I was guilty of that, you know, when I was using these rent horses, and I feel bad about it, but we all evolve. And the key here is it's a learning process. You never stop learning from the horse. And the only way you learn is to have an open mind and listen to what the horse is telling you. So I had been seeing this bitless bridle by Dr. Cook being advertised and so forth. So I said, you know what? If I'm not using the bit other than just to communicate, why? Let me try this out. And it was a seamless transition.
Wow.
It's like he had been ridden with it forever. It's like he probably, if he could talk, he probably said, oh my God, what the heck were you waiting for so long? Thank you. Finally get this thing out of my mouth.
Better late than never, though.
Yeah, better late than never. And it's a decision that everybody has to feel comfortable with, you know. It works for us, and I think you could see it on the videos and the performance. I mean, we do everything with him that we did with the bit. And, you know, from full gallop, he'll stop, one, because he wants, and not because of a pain in his mouth. And the bitless bridle works with pressure and release. You know, same principle of a bit, except much less harsh.
And he responds beautifully. Well, we're hoping that some of these tips and tricks can benefit other horse lovers and riders and trainers out there. You certainly have seen the benefits of it.
Oh,
it's very
absolutely.
clear, just the way he responds. That's all great information. And actually, it's interesting because this week we have a brand new sponsor that ties in really well with all of this. And Raphael, do you want to tell us about who that is?
For over 12 years, the Dr. Cook Bitless Bridle has been making horses and riders happy around the world. This is a perfect alternative to using a bit. There are over 100,000 now in use in most all riding disciplines. With Dr. Cook's Bitless Bridle, communication is enhanced, trust is established, performance is improved, and harmony is achieved. Try the Bitless Bridle that started a revolution. For more information, call a toll-free number 866-235-0938 or visit them at www.bitlessbridle.com.
Okay, Raphael, on the line we have Joe Camp.
Hey,
And
Joe.
We've been looking forward to this. Hi, Joe.
Hey guys, how are you?
Great.
Listen, I just want to say I've been listening to and watching, the first couple of shows that you did, and it's great. I like it a lot. I listened to the one with Melanie just today, and you're doing a great job.
Oh,
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so
I hear a
much.
little bit of barking back there. Is that Benji?
Yeah, that's
She wants to be on the show, too.
yeah. I'm just going to walk back as we talk, and I'm going to let her out of her crate because she doesn't usually get in her crate, and Kathleen put her in there to keep her out of the hair, but she doesn't understand it.
Joe, of course, this is the Horse and Friends radio show. We love dogs, too. But a lot of people, the majority of people, are going to know you with your association with, of course, all those wonderful Benji movies. You had like 7, if I recall. And I did an interview with you, actually a video one, that gives a lot of background on that. So I'm going to run some of that during the show. Nashville Newsine is here today with a very special guest whose name you may or may not know right away, but for sure you'll recognize his work. He's the creator, producer, director, and originally the promoter and distributor of all those cute little brown-eyed adventurous dog movies, Benji. Today we're here with Mr. Joe Camp, and thank you so much
My pleasure.
for being able to talk with you today.
My pleasure.
If my information is correct, the first Benji movie came out, in 1974?
You're not going to say that to all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, that was before I was born. Yeah, that's that. Actually, 1975 was the primary year. We call 74 facetiously our testing year because we were trying to figure out what we were doing with it because we wound up having to distribute it ourselves because everybody in Hollywood turned it down.
Now, why did they turn it down from your experience?
They didn't like it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
They didn't see the dollar signs in
They
it?
did not see anything in it. Actually, there was one guy at Universal who's the number one guy in distribution told us that, if I could take this movie out myself, I could make it a hit. I see the movie, but I can't do that. And I can't guarantee you that you're going to be able to, count on all of these guys out in the field doing their thing. He said, what I suggest you do, because nobody cares about it more than you do, is go back and figure out how to do it yourself.
We're interested in your involvement with horses. Now, you have a very unique, in a sense, interest with natural horsemanship. There's probably more people that aren't into that yet that are, and you're one of the ones that is spearheading it, promoting it, and a lot of people are benefiting from it. Maybe we could talk a little bit how you got involved with horses. You went from a successful dog movie producer, director, distributor to horses. How did that happen?
Well, it was very weird, actually, because we were, the last Benji movie, which happens to be my favorite, did not do very well. We just got murdered by Hollywood, because we make them independently and we distribute them independently, and so we didn't have a whole lot of money, and Hollywood's out there spending a ton right now on their movies, and so it didn't do as well as we wanted it to do, and so I was kind of in the dumps about that, and we'd sit out. We'd bought this place out in the country, and Kathleen, who's a California girl, and we were living now down in Valley Center. She had never lived in the country before.
Kathleen's your wife.
Right, and we would sit out there on the front porch and watch the sunset off to the west, and right below us on this property that we had were 2 empty horse stalls. And so we'd say, it wouldn't be nice if there was a horse kind of wandering around down there in the stall, picture postcard at sunset and whatnot. And, well, we ought to go on a trail ride sometime. And what I had no clue of when I started talking about all of this is that Kathleen had some really bad experiences with horses when she was a teenager, and she was scared to death of them. But she knew I was down in the dumps and whatnot, and so she set up a trail ride and drug me out of bed on my birthday and threw me in the car and said, we're going down the hill. And I said, well, where are we going? What? And she didn't tell me until we got down to this park and pulled up, and there was a big horse trailer there with 3 horses all saddled up, and the lady that she had contacted to do this, and we went out on a 6-hour trail ride. 3 weeks later, we owned 3 horses. And I can promise you that a trail ride and 2 empty stalls is not a good reason to go out and buy 3 horses. But that was our start, and we didn't have a clue. I mean, we truly did not have a clue what to do with them. So we were starting to ask questions and try to make sense out of the whole thing. And I think the trick that really threw us over into really researching how horses are supposed to live was the fact that Cash, my cover boy on the Soul of a Horse book, came to us with shoes on his front feet and none on his back. And I'd gotten into the wild horse thing a little bit and trying to draw the comparison. Why do we need shoes when the horses in the wild go over all kinds of nasty terrain, even lava rock, and just breeze right through it, and have obviously got really, really, really good feet. And I was being told that the domestic horse and the wild horse are 2 different species. And it didn't really make any sense to me, but I didn't have any science to back it up. But they're saying, no, we bred the foot right off the horse. There's no foot left on the horse because we've done all this selective breeding. And I said, well, what? I asked one guy this. I said, what? So my horse has shoes on his fronts and none on his back. Does that mean he's half wild and half domestic? How does that work? And
he's a hybrid.
And of course he could, hybrid. he couldn't answer the question, and so it kind of just drifted off there. And so I started digging some more, and when I found out that a horse's hoof, that the way the hoof is designed is to flex, kind of think toilet plunger. Like, every time it hits the ground, it stretches out like a toilet plunger would. And what that's doing is sucking an enormous amount of blood into the hoof, which is, keeping it healthy, keeping it growing like it should grow, and growing the amount that it should grow for walking around in that high desert all the time. I mean, they'll travel 10 to 20 miles a day out there in the wild, and that's what they're designed to do. And so that's what really turned, because when you put a metal shoe on that hoof, it can no longer flex. And, the flexing does 2 or 3 things. It pulls that blood in, and the blood, in addition to keeping the hoof healthy, provides kind of a hydraulic-like shock absorption for the joints and the ligaments and whatnot, tendons going up the leg. And when he picks that foot up off the ground and it closes, think of that toilet plunger snapping shut. Again, what that's doing is shoving that blood up the leg and helping the heart. And I ultimately found, a scientific source of a study that showed that a horse with a shoe on it will have, on average, a 10% higher heart rate than a horse that is barefoot, because the heart's having to work that much harder to get the blood up and down the legs, those big, long, skinny legs of the horse. And so when I read all this, and I said, it doesn't make any sense to me, because of you put a metal shoe on the hoof, it is not going to flex. And come to find out, that's why a lot of people say, well, my horse feels fine when their shoes on, but when you take the shoes off, he hurts. And that's because, excuse me, I've got one of those nasty summer colds. But the reason that he hurts is that the blood has been cut off from that, or severely reduced to that hoof. Therefore, the nerve endings have gone. It's like crossing your leg. You know, you've had your leg crossed for 30 minutes, and you get up and fall on your face because everything's gone to sleep down your leg and your foot. Because when the blood circulation is no longer there, then your nerve endings don't work. And so that's why. It's not that the horse is no good barefoot. It's that the horse is responding to the damage that has been done to that hoof. And some horses, we had one, when we pulled the shoes, that had to literally took 8 months to heal, and he had to grow an entirely new foot. We had a couple that were very good to go and quick to be happy campers. But it depends on how bad the hoof has been and under what conditions the horse has been. And of course, a lot of stuff plays into it. But that's what started me off on the. I called the vet and I said, the shoes are coming off. He said, whose? And I said, all of them. Whoa, don't you want to just do one at a time and see how it goes? And I said, no, sir.
Joe, you first of all, I think you serve as a great example for educating yourself on the horse and stuff. I mean, I always refer people to your book because before you could do anything with the horse, you have to understand what makes a horse. And your book does an excellent job of that, supported by scientific, studies and so forth. And also, there are a lot of myths about going barefoot. Some people, like you alluded to, think, well, I'm taking off the shoes of my horse, and he should be able to walk along this gravel with no problem. It doesn't work like that, and for reasons that you just explained. It also is extremely critical to have a true barefoot specialist doing your feet, because you could really mess up a horse's feet if somebody doesn't know what they're doing. And we're both very lucky to have Mark Taylor doing the shoes.
Right. And there are a lot of them around the country that I have met and watched and so forth. And there are lists on our website on the Barefoot page. There are organizations that certify these guys. But you've got in reality what the trimmer is doing, and he does less of it if you're over in the West than he does when you're over here, because the terrain is totally different. And the foot is designed to grow enough to be able to move that 10 to 20 miles a day in that high desert out there in Nevada and California and Northern California and whatnot. And if it doesn't have that kind of terrain to wear it down, you're going to have too much hoof. And so the trimmer's got to understand that, and he's got to understand what's going on. That all you're trying to do is replicate what he would be doing if he were in the wild out there in Northern California somewhere.
Joe, you mentioned Cash, and he's the horse on the cover of The Soul of a Horse, Life Lessons from the Herd. Beautiful horse. I met him myself that day that we were down at your place. How many horses do you have now?
We have 6.
You have 6.
And 6 horses, 5 dogs.
Yeah.
A cat.
Now, can
Any
we
chickens yet?
Yes, 3.
All right. So we can call Cash your best friend. Well, other than Kathleen, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right up next to her. Kathleen, your wife is a photographer and an attorney, right?
Correct.
She takes some beautiful photographs.
Yeah, she sure does. Some of those pictures she captured back in California are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our blog, which is the Soul of a Horse /blog, has a ton of her pictures on it, and she just moved over here. She's been in California for 2 years. I moved over about the same time that Raphael came up from Florida, and we've been here suffering without our wives for 2 years, and poor Raphael still is.
I'm still counting the days.
But Kathleen, our twins finally graduated from high school, and that's what we were waiting for. We didn't want to uproot them in their last 2 years of high school, and they graduated this year, and she's over here now, and so we're really very excited about that. But yeah, Cash is just an amazing being. Our bond, it's something. I heard what Raphael was saying when he was talking to Melanie on your second show, about how difficult it is to explain and I think it has, a lot to do with you. There's some people that you hit it off with right away, and there's some people that you don't ever hit it off with, and there's some in the middle that you become friends with, but not what you'd call really good friends. And it just depends on the chemistry of the people involved and so forth. And I think the exact same thing is true with a horse. And, Cash and I just hit it off like Raphael and Ivory Powell did. And he's just absolutely amazing. And we just posted a new video on the Soul of a Horse channel on YouTube that I went out one day, and they were all the way over the hill. We're on 31 acres right now, and they were somewhere, but the whole herd was somewhere between a quarter of a mile and half a mile away. And I said, "Oh man, I don't want to walk up there to get him." And so I just yelled as loud as I could for him to come down. Cash, Mr. Cash, come on down. And I went back in to the tack room and did something, and came out, and over the ridge of the hill, here's his head just bobbing. And so I whipped out the video camera that I carry on my hip all the time for just times like this, and followed him all the way down. He kicked out and broke into a little gallop, about a third of the way, or 2/3 of the way down, about a third of the way from me, and came running right into the paddock, around this big concrete thing, and right into my face.
Yeah, that was a beautiful video. I saw that, and I've also been privileged to see that special relationship that you have with Cash.
There are a lot of ways to do it, but we swear by the Monty Roberts join-up way, because it clearly gives the horse the choice at the right time to say, "I trust you, and I want to, I want you for my leader. I want to be in relationship with you." And when they do, it just, I think I cried on every one of them when they came up to me and finally said, "Yes, I trust you."
Joe, some people that don't really know a lot about horses but are into dogs, they would go, "Well, my dog does that when I call him if he's across the field." But it's a totally different experience when your horse comes to you when you call him, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the horse is a flight animal and the dog's a predator.
Yeah.
So when the horse is leaving its herd to come to you, that means it's totally trust you to protect it.
It's an emotional experience, and I don't want to bring up an overly sad thing, but in your second book, The Soul of a Horse Blogged, The Journey Continues, in chapter 12, you wrote something in there that made me cry, because your 3-month-old Malachi died unexpectedly during a storm, and what a sad, sad thing that was. But it really highlights how attached people get to their horses.
He was the best boy ever, and
yeah,
and from my perspective, and absolutely, at 3 months he knew everything that all our other horses knew.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's very sad. A lot of people that get so attached to their horse, and then the horse lives 25 years or whatever, and then when that horse dies, it's part of the family, and it's very, very traumatic. I know when we lost Denmark, my saddlebred horse, it was very, very sad, and I still think about him. He was a great horse, and many, many of the friends listening to this know exactly what that means, so we know what you went through.
Yeah, it was bad, but there's 2 books. There's another one that's going to have, called Born to be Wild. It's going to have a lot about Malachi in it, and it took me a while. I had to branch off and do this book called Who Needs Hollywood, which is about the days of the original Benji movie and how we went about it and all the slam doors that we had in our face and whatnot. And I think it was kind of God's way of saying, you need a break now. You don't want to go back into that too soon.
Now, what is your, maybe you can mention your website, Joe, so that some of the friends can go there and see some of these extra things that you're doing, extra books and extra blogging and so forth. What's the website for them?
It's thesoulofahorse.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there is soulofahorse.com/blog is the blog, but you can get to the blog from the homepage of the website. And there's a Soul of a Horse channel on YouTube and a Soul of a Horse Facebook page, and all the stuff that we feel obligated to do these days. we don't have 30,000 fans like Ivory Palace does.
That's unusual. Hey, Joe.
Congratulations, Raphael, and tell Pal I said so on the cover of Equus, for goodness sakes.
Yeah,
that
thank
is
you.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it, Joe. Yeah, it's always humbling to see him. I was talking to Conrad another time here, and it feels like the first time. He's been on a couple of covers, but anytime you see your boy there on the cover of a major magazine, it is quite an honor, and we are thankful
Great
for...
picture, too.
Well,
Great
thank you.
picture.
Yeah. Hey, this is show number 3, so you're on some of the early broadcasts, if you will. Guess who's going to be on show number 4? It's your friend Vaughn Wilson.
Oh, fantastic. That's going to be a great show. He's a terrific, terrific guy, and he knows more horse people than probably the three of us put together.
Yeah, and there's somebody we know in that book, too.
Tell Me About That Horse is his book, and we saw you in there because he sent us a copy, so we're really happy about that.
Yeah, that's great for you to have you and Cash there featured in that chapter. That's outstanding.
Hey, Joe, thanks so much for letting us visit with you, for sharing a lot of your thoughts and your latest information on things. We appreciate so much you being on the show number 3 of the Horse and Friends radio show.
Well, I appreciate being here and appreciate you asking me, and I look forward to down the line a year or two when you now have 50,000 audience and whatnot to coming back and talking some more.
No, that's only in 2 more months.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate it, and hope you get over your summer cold there. Take care of it.
Appreciate that, and love you guys, and thanks very much for having me.
All right, thanks. Big hugs to Kathleen, too. Talk to you later.
Well, Joe Camp, what a neat guy. He's had a lot of experience, and very interesting to hearing about all his work with horses and the things that he's learned. I'm sure a lot of other people can benefit from that, too.
Absolutely.
Well, Raphael, we also have another great sponsor with a super product. Actually, it's an invention that distributes the weight of the saddle and the rider as it rests on the back of the horse. Really neat. You use it with Ivory Pal, and according to you, it works really well. So why don't you tell all the friends about it so that they can benefit too?
In 1982, Len and Lisa Brown rode 3,000 miles through the West with 5 horses. After 500 miles, saddle soaring almost ended their trip. Len stopped, redesigned their saddles, and the horses finished the trip with no white hairs. After 21 years of successful saddle making, Len patented the Corrector saddling system, designed to make any saddle work on any horse. I've personally used the Corrector pad on Ivory Pal for 4 years, and it solved my persistent saddling problems. For information, visit Len at www.thecorrector.net, or you can personally call Len at 816-625-0333.
Something really exciting happened again.
Oh,
They
yeah.
say lightning struck twice here, huh?
Yeah, twice in 1 month.
Now, what do we mean by that? Well, you had the centerfold in Horse Illustrated. We talked about that. August this
Right.
year, centerfold.
And the feature story.
And the feature story. But now you've got, ta-da, the cover of Equus, August this year, 2011.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, his pal's been on the cover of a couple magazines, and it never ceases to amaze me and humble us for having him on those covers. It's always feels like the first time every time. And actually, Bob Langridge took that picture, and he also took another Ivory Pal picture that made it on the front cover of Equus back in March of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pretty honored and flattered that Equus has chosen to feature Ivory Pal on 2 of their covers.
Yeah, well, congratulations again. That's really great news.
Thank you. Ivory Pal was pretty happy.
So, folks, thanks for tuning in, as they say, and be sure to be watching for our next episode coming soon.
Until then, happy trails, everybody.
Hey, Raphael, I bet you can't do this.
Horse and Friends Radio.